If you don't hook people in like the first minute, you're screwed. The first couple minutes, like those are extremely crucial. If you think about watching TV, right? You're flipping the channels. If something doesn't catch your eye in the first 3 seconds, you're gone. One of your keys is going to be like getting that top just compact, telling people exactly what they're going to get. I want you to consider using something that we like to call tease tape, right? You're going to say, this is what I'm going to do in this show. Here's 3 things you're going to learn, or 3 stories we're going to tell in this. Give people a flavor of like the joy that is to come. I think that would be a value add. Something we've learned at Planet Money is the key is we want just to epitomize delight, and we want to maximize delight. We found that people are really interested in when we're delighted, when we're laughing, when we're having a good time, when there's funny jokes. So if you bring some of that stuff into the top with your tease tape, I think people will be more likely to stick around. Don't go at it at an angle. Don't do a fake out. Nobody likes being faked out.
And in organizing your hook, there's one key rule you must follow.
I want to emphasize for you the power of the rule of 3s. People love things that come in 3s. We have the top, which is sort of narrative, right? And then we do sort of 3 chapters. I'm here to say that the rule of 3s is your friend, and use it as much as possible.
How to expand your audience and even more ways to better structure shows and content?
I'm here to encourage you to, as much as possible, show your vulnerability. If you're going to expand your audience, you can't go on your reputation alone. You have a wonderful reputation, but if you want more people to listen, right, you got to show people this is a guy just like me. He makes mistakes, and here's the lessons he learns from them. And if you follow that structure with a beginning, middle, and end of each story, here's how it started. I remember I was sitting here when it happened. Somebody called me. They told me this. I said, oh, my God, this is a crazy challenge. And then this is how I solved it, and here's what I learned from it. That is the gold of narrative, right? You want to open doors, and you want to close them. You got to be more relatable if you want to get into the hundreds of thousands of downloads. People relate to stories of finding challenges and overcoming them, right? That is our bread and butter. That is what human society is built off of. I'm here to tell you that you're going to want to make these things shorter. And probably the way you're going to make these things shorter is by doing editing, which takes a long time. But you can just cut out large swaths of the podcast. There was like 1 or 2 times the podcast where you were like, do you think people find this interesting? I don't know, but maybe we're gonna cut this out. If you have that instinct, cut it out. That's a good instinct. Because if you think it's boring and you're talking about it with one of your best buds about it, other people definitely might think it's boring. I work for an extremely highly produced podcast, right? Like we gather probably 10 hours of tape for every episode, and a total of like 3 minutes of tape makes it into that episode. It takes a long time. You know, a correspondent just traveled to India for 3 weeks, and she's going to take 3 weeks writing. Other times we take a day to do it if it's a big group show. But it takes a ton of time. That is to say that like it's a lot of work to make a top 10 podcast. Don't be afraid of just cutting whole sections out and just dropping a line of tracking, as we call it, in between it, right?
What do you mean by that?
Tracking is just like you come back in like the intro and just say, the next thing we talked a little bit for this, and then the next thing we talked about is this.